One of the really great features in Antil Pro 3.7 that I think people don't really understand and aren't really taking full advantage of are these dynamic properties. If I'm looking at a property configuration screen here, and almost everybody's using what we call defined properties, where you have a list or a default or something basic. But Antil Pro's got the idea of being able to set the default, either a simple option like this or options choose out a checkbox, either by writing a script or by running a job. And I want to look at an example of how this can actually be used, in an example where we're doing a deployment or a test, and it's only going to impact some of the machines in the environment. And so we're going to select which machines out of the environment we want to run this on at runtime. And so we're going to end up doing a scripted example here. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here and hit cancel because we've already set this up. And I want to introduce the scripts that we're going to be using. So out here at our script repository, which is running on a bug tracker, we have script 112 that was written by Ryan Smith, one of our lead developers. And he's actually got two little scripts here. One is just a basic agent filter where we're looking up a property named agents that's comma delimited, finding the names, and those are the machines that we're going to use in the filter. So it looks up the environment, take the agents out of it. And then the matching one is the one that we're going to use in our property. And this is the one that looks up the environment that we're running the workflow in, and then just selects agents out of that, creates a list, and includes them in. So let's see how this comes together. If I have a build here, and I wanted to deploy it, so deploying it, I would run a secondary process. So I select that. Deployment's all I have. This could be a deployment. This could also be a test process just as easily. I go ahead and pick a environment, so maybe my nightly test environment. And because I've got a scripted property in place, I hit next instead of run. So when I hit next, it's going to pass the environment into the script and prompt me with the agents I want to deploy to. So I get a list of all the agents in this particular test environment, and I can pick some to run on. So I can say, well, let's do this on Oracle and on Derby, MySQL, and Postgres. And so those are some of the most common databases used in Antil Pro, so I'm going to test against those. Off we go. And so Antil Pro will kick off a process and target those machines. And I've got kind of the world's fastest process here. But we see that my dummy deploy ran on just those 4 machines. That's because I was using that agent filter and I was using that script. How do I configure all this? Glad you asked. Looking at the configuration for this particular deployment, so here's the deployment in the example project. I have this property called agents. If you remember, our agent filter is looking for that. It's scripted. And the script that decides that is the one out of the example. This is script 112, which we have linked in this blog post. So basically it looks it up, creates our dropdown. We've configured this property to be a multi-select, so it shows up in a dropdown. And we prompt the user for the agents to deploy to, and yes, we require things. Interesting piece here is, you notice this little star here. The allowed values is normally required, but because this is scripted, you get to skip it. So we'll cancel that. That's one big piece. The workflow definition basically just says run this deployment against every machine returned by the agent filter, so we're going to trust the agent filter. Our agent filter is, again, the one from the script, so this agent one, and that's pretty much all there is to it. A couple of short scripts and we're able to do something relatively sophisticated. Run a test on a subset of our machines that a user is prompted to select rather than the system selecting it. We also see this done when people want to deploy to 1 or 2 nodes in a production cluster before rolling it out to all of production. So those are some options. I like personally doing things to all the machines, but the idea here is just to show you a way of dynamically acting on properties, looking things up, presenting them to the user, moving on. There's a matching script out there that looks up the same set of values by doing some database calls out to somebody else's database, which is also pretty neat. Hope that helps, and I appreciate you guys taking a look. Thanks.